In millions of Indians' homes today, the most expensive room is no longer the living room. It is the kitchen. Because the gas cylinder that every family depends on now costs around 900 or even more in many cities. And when the price of cooking gas rises, people are reminded of one word they hear everywhere now: Mahngai. For middle-class families, it means cutting expense somewhere else. For poorer households, it sometimes means thinking about going back to the old chulha. And recently, there is another problem. Even booking the next cylinder has become harder. The rules are stricter. The waiting gap between bookings is longer. So naturally, people are asking a simple question. If global energy prices are rising because of tension in West Asia, then why does it feel like India pays more? And why do countries like China not seem to feel the same crisis? So what exactly is happening? And why is the same global shock hitting India so differently? In many Indian homes, the gas cylinder is not just a fuel. It is the heart of the kitchen. Every meal depends on it. But today, that same cylinder has become much more expensive. In early 2026, the price of domestic LPG cylinder increased again. In cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, the price has reached around 900 or even more. For some families, this may sound like just another price increase, but for millions of households, it changes the entire monthly budget. Because LPG is not something people can avoid. It is used every single day. And recently, another rule made people even more anxious. The government increased the minimum gap between two cylinder bookings. Officials say this step is taken to stop hoarding and black marketing. But for ordinary families, it means something very simple. If cylinder finishes early, they may have to wait longer for the next refill. So naturally people are asking, why now? But here is something even more interesting. The global energy markets affects every country. Yet in countries like China, people are not talking about kitchen crisis. Gas prices there have moved a little too, but the situation does not feel nearly as stressful. So the question becomes even bigger. Why does the global shock feel so different in India? To understand what's happening in India's kitchen, we have to look far beyond India. Thousands of kilometers away in West Asia, this region produces a huge share of world's oil and gas. And whenever tension rises here, the global energy market reacts immediately. Recently, tension between Iran and Israel have created uncertainty in the region. Whenever the possibility of conflict grows, oil markets become nervous. Prices start rising. At some point, global crude oil prices even move close to $120 per barrel. And this matters a lot for India, because India imports a large share of oil and LPG it consumes. So when global prices rise, the cost of cooking gas in India often rises as well. Energy companies pay more for imports. Transportation becomes more expensive, and eventually, households start feeling the pressure. But this still leaves us with a puzzle. If the global oil market is affecting everyone, why do some countries manage the shock better than others? Why does it feel like Indian kitchen are under pressure, while places like China seem much calmer? To understand that difference, we need to look how these two countries manage energy prices. So, why does the situation feel so different in China? The answer is not that China is immune to global oil prices. Energy prices move there too, but the system works very differently. First, the fuel and energy prices in China are more tightly controlled by the government. When global oil prices rise, the government often tries to slow down the impact on consumer. Instead of passing the full increase directly to the households, part of the shock is absorbed inside the system. Second, China relies heavily on large state-owned energy companies. These companies sign long-term supply contracts with major oil and gas producers. That helps China secure more energy at more stable prices. China also maintains strong energy partnership with countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran. This helps ensure steady oil supplies even when global markets become uncertain. And third, China can adjust taxes and pricing rules quickly. Sometimes prices go up, sometimes they even go down. But the goal is simple: to avoid sudden shocks to the households. That is why, when global energy markets become unstable, the impact inside China feels more controlled. But this brings us to the most important question. If China can soften the shock from global oil prices, why does India struggle to do the same? The answer lies in how India manages its energy system. So if China can soften the shock from global oil prices, why is India feeling it so strongly? The biggest reason is how India energy prices are managed. In India, LPG prices are more closely linked to the global market. When international oil and gas prices rise, domestic prices often rise as well. That means global shocks can reach Indian households much faster. Another reason is import dependence. India imports a large share of oil and LPG it consumes. When a cost of importing energy increases, companies have to pay more to bring the fuel into the country. Eventually, that higher cost reaches consumer. India also used to provide large subsidies on LPG. Over the years, many of those subsidies have been reduced or targeted mainly towards the poorer households. This means more people now pay a price closer to real market cost of gas. And when the global market becomes unstable, families start feeling that pressure very quickly. But here is the key point. This does not mean one system is right and the other system is wrong. It simply shows that India and China manage energy shocks very differently. And that difference is exactly why the same global crisis feels much heavier inside Indian kitchen. So, in the end, this story is not really about oil. It is about how countries choose to handle a global crisis. When energy prices rise around the world, every country feels the shock. But the way the shock reaches the ordinary people can be very different. Some governments try to absorb the pressure inside the system. Others allow global prices to pass through more directly. And that difference eventually shows up in the most important place of the house, the kitchen. Because when cooking gas becomes more expensive, families start adjusting their lives. They cut other expenses. They change what they cook, and sometimes they even think about going back to the old chulha. So the real debate is not just about gas prices. It is about how much protection households should have from global shocks. Because for millions of families across India, this is not just about economics. It is about something very simple: the next meal on the table. So what do you think? Should India protect households more from global energy shocks? Or should gas prices continue to follow the global market? Let us know in your comments below. If you found this video insightful, please don't forget to like the video. And if you enjoy simple stories about global issues, make sure to subscribe to ThinkTell, because you think and we tell.